Hollywood's golden age was filled with unforgettable moments. But did you know some of the most iconic scenes weren't even in the script? From legendary actors going off the cuff to unforgettable scenes born out of pure spontaneity, these unscripted gems shaped cinema history in ways no one could have planned. Here are 20 classic Hollywood moments that were totally unscripted, but absolutely unforgettable. Rebel Without a Cause, 1955. Rebel Without a Cause is one of the most iconic films in Hollywood history. It tells the story of Jim Stark, a troubled teenager searching for purpose and identity in a world that feels harsh and unkind. The movie explores themes like family struggles, peer pressure, and the need to belong, resonating with audiences for decades. James Dean's portrayal of Jim Stark is legendary, and his improvisation brought a raw authenticity to the character. But one of the most memorable scenes, the opening shot, was entirely unscripted. After nearly 24 hours of filming, Dean came up with the idea himself. He asked director Nicholas Ray to roll the camera, grabbed a toy monkey, and acted out a drunken, emotional moment that captured Jim Stark's vulnerability. The result was a powerful scene that immediately draws the audience into Jim's world. But in another famous moment, Dean directed and improvised the intense scene where Jim confronts his father. Dean's performance in this scene added depth to the character, showing his inner conflict and longing for connection. Speaking of which, did you know that Ray trusted Dean's instincts so much that he even encouraged him to help rewrite parts of the script? This collaboration between Dean and Ray gave Rebel Without a Cause its heart and soul. Tragically, James Dean passed away shortly after filming, making this movie one of his last and most significant contributions to cinema. The Godfather, 1972. The Godfather isn't just a movie, it's a masterpiece. This timeless classic tells the story of the Corleone family led by Don Vito Corleone, played brilliantly by Marlon Brando. As the aging patriarch, he must pass control of the family's powerful crime empire to his reluctant son, Michael, portrayed by Al Pacino. The movie is a deep dive into loyalty, power, and family bonds, all set against the dangerous backdrop of organized crime. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola and based on Mario Puzo's best-selling novel, the film gave us unforgettable moments and lines. One of the most iconic one was, "Leave the gun, take the cannoli." But this wasn't just a clever piece of dialogue, it was improvised. The line happened during the aftermath of an attempted hit on Don Vito. Actor Richard Castellano, who played Peter Clemenza, added "take the cannoli" as a nod to an earlier scene where his wife had asked him to pick up dessert. The suggestion reportedly came from Castellano's real-life wife, Ardell Sheridan, who also played his on-screen wife. This little unscripted addition made the scene feel real and added a touch of dark humor that fans still talk about today. The film's combination of powerful storytelling, unforgettable performances, and improvised gems like this make it a true classic. The Warriors, 1979. The Warriors is a cult classic that takes viewers on a thrilling journey through the dangerous streets of New York City. The movie follows a gang called the Warriors as they fight their way back home to Coney Island after being falsely accused of murder. Along the way, they face rival gangs, danger, and betrayal, leading to a dramatic final showdown. One of the most unforgettable moments in the movie comes during the climactic Coney Island scene. Here, David Patrick Kelly, playing the villainous Luther, delivers a haunting and mocking taunt that has since become iconic. Standing by his 1955 Cadillac, he clinks 3 bottles together and sings, "Warriors, come out to play." But did you know that this legendary line wasn't in the script? Director Walter Hill encouraged Kelly to create something unique for this scene, giving him total freedom to improvise. Kelly found inspiration in a childhood memory. He once knew a bully who had a habit of taunting others, and that memory gave him the idea for the chant. Being a skilled musician with a natural ear for rhythm and tone, Kelly added his own eerie touch, turning a simple line into a piece of cinematic history. Speaking of which, Kelly's performance in The Warriors solidified his place as a standout actor in Hollywood. Beyond acting, he's also a talented musician who has brought his love of music into his roles. His chilling improvisation remains one of the film's most talked about scenes, adding to the movie's enduring legacy. Midnight Cowboy, 1969. Midnight Cowboy is a story about two unlikely friends struggling to survive in New York City. Joe Buck, played by Jon Voight, is a naive Texan who dreams of making it big as a hustler. Rico Ratso Rizzo, played by Dustin Hoffman, is a street-smart conman battling poor health. Their friendship forms the heart of this Oscar-winning classic, making it both heartbreaking and unforgettable. But one thing you may not know is that one of the most famous moments in the film wasn't even in the script. While filming on a tight budget, the crew couldn't close off New York's busy streets. During a scene where Voight and Hoffman were walking and talking, a taxi unexpectedly sped into the shot, nearly hitting Hoffman. Staying completely in character, Hoffman yelled, "I'm walking here!" His words weren't just a reaction, they became an instant classic. Hoffman later explained that, in his mind, he wanted to yell at the cabbie for ruining the shot, but his dedication to method acting kept him in the moment. His quick thinking turned a potential disaster into one of the most quoted lines in film history. Both Hoffman and Voight delivered incredible performances that earned them Oscar nominations. Together, they created a film that explored loneliness, friendship, and the harsh realities of chasing the American dream. A Clockwork Orange, 1971. A Clockwork Orange is a bold and controversial film that explores the dark side of human behavior in a dystopian future. Directed by Stanley Kubrick and based on Anthony Burgess's novel, the movie follows Alex DeLarge, a charismatic but violent gang leader. Malcolm McDowell's portrayal of Alex is both chilling and unforgettable, making him one of cinema's most notorious anti-heroes. One of the most disturbing and memorable scenes in the movie is the home invasion. Alex and his gang, known as Droogs, break into a woman's home and unleash chaos. The scene became even more haunting thanks to a spur-of-the-moment improvisation by McDowell. Feeling the scene lacked energy, Kubrick asked McDowell to make it more spontaneous. That's when McDowell began singing "Singin' in the Rain" while dancing around. McDowell later admitted he only knew a few of the song's lyrics, but that didn't matter. The mix of the cheerful tune and Alex's horrifying actions created a contrast that made the scene unforgettable. Kubrick loved it so much that he insisted on securing the rights to the song, which cost $10,000, which was a significant expense at the time. He even suggested altering the lyrics from "Rain" to "Pain," further amplifying the unsettling tone. McDowell's performance and Kubrick's perfectionism turned this scene into a masterclass of dark storytelling. It remains one of the most talked about moments in film history, showcasing how a little improvisation can elevate a scene into cinematic legend. Rocky, 1976. Rocky is more than just a boxing movie. It's an inspiring underdog story. Directed by John G. Avildsen and written by its star, Sylvester Stallone, the film follows Rocky Balboa, a small-time boxer who gets the chance of a lifetime to fight the heavyweight champion. Stallone's journey to making Rocky mirrored his character's struggles. He was broke, rejected by studios, and determined to play the lead role despite constant pushback. In the end, his persistence paid off, and the film became a massive hit, earning over $200 million and 10 Oscar nominations. One of the film's most touching moments is the ice skating scene with Rocky and Adrian. Now, it wasn't just memorable, it was also mostly improvised. The production had a tight budget, so they could only shoot at the rink during off hours. This meant no extras, no big set pieces, and plenty of limitations. But Stallone turned those challenges into magic. In the scene, Rocky jogs alongside Adrian on the ice because Stallone didn't know how to skate. He also improvised much of the dialogue to make the moment feel natural and awkward, perfectly capturing the budding connection between the shy pet store clerk and the tough boxer. This small, heartfelt scene added depth to the story and made Rocky and Adrian's relationship feel real. Taxi Driver, 1976. Directed by Martin Scorsese and starring Robert De Niro, Taxi Driver is a haunting tale of loneliness and obsession. The film follows Travis Bickle, a war veteran turned New York City cab driver, as his mental state unravels while he navigates the city's dark and dangerous streets. De Niro's portrayal of Bickle is unforgettable, and the movie is widely considered one of the greatest psychological thrillers of all time. One of the film's most iconic moments comes when Travis stares into a mirror and asks, "You talking to me?" Surprisingly, this legendary line wasn't in the script. The only direction screenwriter Paul Schrader gave was that Travis should look in the mirror and play like a cowboy. With no clear dialogue written, Scorsese encouraged De Niro to make something up. De Niro, left to his own creativity, delivered the now famous line, perfectly capturing Travis's growing alienation and instability. The scene, shot with just Scorsese and De Niro on set, became an instant classic. It's now one of the most quoted lines in cinema, symbolizing Travis's isolation and inner turmoil. And so, De Niro's improvisation wasn't just a stroke of genius, it defined the character. His performance earned him an Oscar nomination and solidified his place as one of Hollywood's most talented actors. Casablanca, 1942. Casablanca is a timeless classic that has captured the hearts of movie lovers for decades. Set during World War II, it tells the story of Rick Blaine, an American cafe owner in Morocco, who is faced with a tough choice. Should he help his former lover Ilsa and her husband escape from the Nazis? With its gripping plot and unforgettable romance, the film has become a gold standard in Hollywood storytelling. One of the most famous lines from the movie, "Here's looking at you, kid," wasn't even in the script. During filming, the script was still being fine-tuned and the cast often improvised. Humphrey Bogart, who played Rick, came up with the line while joking around with Ingrid Bergman, who played Ilsa. The two shared a friendly bond on set, and Bogart would say the phrase while teaching Bergman how to play poker between takes. The line worked so well that it made its way into the script multiple times, including during the film's emotional ending. In this iconic moment, Rick says the phrase as he bids farewell to Ilsa at the airport, sacrificing his own happiness for her safety. Bogart's natural delivery and the chemistry between the leads made the line unforgettable. It perfectly captured Rick's bittersweet feelings and became a symbol of their unique connection. Decades later, "Here's looking at you, kid," is still one of the most quoted lines in film history, proving that sometimes the best movie magic happens by chance. Tarzan the Ape Man, 1932. Tarzan the Ape Man brought Edgar Rice Burroughs' jungle hero to life on the big screen, introducing audiences to the iconic ape man and his legendary call. The film tells the story of Tarzan, a man raised by apes who meets and falls in love with Jane, played by Maureen O'Sullivan. The movie's mix of adventure, romance, and exotic jungle settings made it an instant hit. Speaking of which, the most memorable element of the film is Tarzan's famous jungle cry. In Burroughs' novels, it was described as the victory cry of the bull ape, but bringing it to the screen was no easy task. Enter Johnny Weissmuller, the actor who played Tarzan. A former Olympic gold medalist swimmer, Weissmuller had another hidden talent. He was a competitive yodeler. Weissmuller's unique voice, combined with clever sound editing, created a cry that became instantly recognizable. It wasn't just a call. It was a symbol of Tarzan's connection to the wild and his ability to command the jungle. The cry was so iconic that it has been reused and imitated in countless Tarzan films, TV shows, and parodies ever since. Weissmuller's portrayal of Tarzan became the definitive version for many fans. His physicality, charm, and unforgettable cry cemented his place in cinema history. Even today, that iconic yell remains one of the most celebrated sound bites in film, a reminder of how one creative moment can leave a lasting legacy. Roman Holiday, 1953. Roman Holiday is a timeless romantic comedy that charmed audiences with its beautiful setting, heartfelt story, and unforgettable performances by Audrey Hepburn and Gregory Peck. The film follows Princess Anne, who escapes her royal duties for a day of freedom in Rome, guided by American journalist Joe Bradley. Their chemistry and the picturesque backdrop of Rome made the movie a classic. A memorable scene happens at the Mouth of Truth, a famous Roman landmark. According to legend, the statue will bite off the hand of anyone who tells a lie. In this scene, Joe pretends to test the legend. While the script had him placing his hand in the statue's mouth, Peck took it a step further by slipping his hand into his jacket sleeve to make it look like the statue had bitten it off. Audrey Hepburn's shocked reaction was completely genuine. She wasn't expecting Peck's playful twist, and her laugh added authenticity to the scene. This small improvisation brought extra charm to the movie, highlighting the character's growing bond and Joe's mischievous sense of humor. Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981. Raiders of the Lost Ark introduced audiences to Indiana Jones, the fearless archaeologist played by Harrison Ford. Directed by Steven Spielberg, this thrilling adventure follows Indy as he races to find the Ark of the Covenant before the Nazis do. Packed with action, humor, and unforgettable moments, the film became an instant classic and set the tone for the beloved franchise. Speaking of unforgettable, one of the most iconic scenes in the movie happens when Indy faces a skilled swordsman. Originally, the scene was planned to be a choreographed fight, where Indy would use his whip to disarm his opponent. But there was a problem. Harrison Ford was battling dysentery while filming in Tunisia. Exhausted and unwell, Ford suggested a simpler solution. Instead of fighting, Indy pulls out his gun and shoots the swordsman. Though it wasn't intentionally improvised in the moment, this change added humor and perfectly captured Indy's practical, no-nonsense character. The unexpected move not only made audiences laugh, but also became one of the most memorable moments in the series. Harrison Ford's performance as Indiana Jones is full of charm, wit, and bravery, and this scene showcases all three. It also reflects the kind of creative problem-solving that makes movie magic. What started as a way to work around Ford's illness turned into a franchise-defining moment, proving that sometimes less really is more. This quick-thinking change left an impact on fans and remains a standout scene in cinematic history. The Wizard of Oz, 1939. The Wizard of Oz is one of the most magical films ever made. Its story, colorful characters, and catchy songs have been enchanting audiences for decades. One character that stands out is the lovable Cowardly Lion, played by Burt Lahr. His performance brought humor and heart to the film, making him a fan favorite. Burt Lahr was already known for his comedic genius in vaudeville and Broadway before stepping into the role. His background in live performance gave him a knack for improvisation, which helped him add a personal touch to the Cowardly Lion's personality. Even though the movie's production was carefully planned, Lahr brought his own flair to the character with his playful delivery and physical comedy. The Cowardly Lion's costume was a challenge for Lahr. Made from real lion skin, it was incredibly heavy, weighing over 50 pounds. Under the bright Technicolor lights, the heat became unbearable, and Lahr often had to take breaks to cool down. Eating was another struggle. His facial prosthetics meant he could only sip soup through a straw while on set. Despite these difficulties, Lahr gave a performance that was both funny and touching. While there wasn't much of specific improvised lines in The Wizard of Oz, Lahr's natural comedic timing and creativity added a special charm to the lion's dialogue. Blade Runner, 1982. Blade Runner is a sci-fi masterpiece that explores deep questions about humanity, identity, and mortality. Directed by Ridley Scott and set in a dystopian future, the film follows Rick Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, as he hunts down rogue replicants, artificially created beings. But it's Rutger Hauer, as the replicant leader Roy Batty, who delivers the film's most unforgettable moment. In his final scene, as Roy faces his inevitable death, he reflects on his life with a haunting monologue. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. This speech is now iconic, but it didn't come directly from the script. Hauer rewrote the monologue himself, keeping only 2 lines from the original version. Hauer's changes turned the speech into a poetic and emotional reflection on life and memory. On the day of filming, the cast and crew reportedly applauded, and some even cried. His delivery captured the vulnerability and depth of Roy Batty, making the audience question what it truly means to be human. Hauer later explained that he wanted the monologue to feel more personal and meaningful. By improvising much of it, he added a layer of humanity to his character, transforming a simple death scene into one of cinema's most profound moments. Decades later, the Tears in Rain speech remains one of the most celebrated moments in movie history. Young Frankenstein, 1974. Young Frankenstein is a hilarious parody of old Universal horror movies, directed by the legendary Mel Brooks. It tells the story of Dr. Frederick Frankenstein, played by Gene Wilder, who reluctantly follows in his famous grandfather's footsteps. The movie is filled with laughs, absurd moments, and unforgettable characters, including Marty Feldman as Igor, the doctor's quirky assistant. Igor's character is full of visual gags, but one of the funniest moments in the film came from a behind-the-scenes joke. Feldman, known for his sharp comedic instincts, decided to have some fun on set by secretly moving his fake hump to different parts of his back without telling anyone. It was a subtle prank, but eventually, Mel Brooks noticed. Instead of scolding Feldman, Brooks loved the idea so much that he wrote it into the script. This led to the iconic exchange where Dr. Frankenstein asks Igor about his hump, and Igor responds, "What hump?" The line became one of the film's most quoted moments and perfectly showcased Feldman's comedic timing and Brooks's genius for turning spontaneous ideas into comedy gold. Dr. Strangelove, 1964. Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, is a dark comedy masterpiece directed by Stanley Kubrick. The film is a biting satire about the Cold War, nuclear weapons, and political paranoia, filled with unforgettable performances. Peter Sellers steals the show with his 3 distinct roles, but George C. Scott as General Buck Turgidson brings his own unique energy to the screen. If you've watched this movie, you may remember that moment in the war room where General Turgidson trips and falls before bouncing back up with no hesitation. It looks like a brilliant piece of physical comedy, but the truth is, it was a total accident. Scott's fall wasn't planned or rehearsed, but Kubrick, known for his perfectionism, loved how it fit the chaotic tone of the scene. He decided to leave it in the final cut. Scott's ability to recover smoothly and stay in character is what makes the moment so believable. It adds a layer of realism and humor to the absurd setting, perfectly complementing the movie's satirical style. Speaking of which, Scott's portrayal of Turgidson is a standout performance in a film packed with talent. His over-the-top energy and comedic timing balance the movie's sharp commentary with moments of levity. The accidental fall only adds to his character's charm, proving that even in a meticulously crafted film like Dr. Strangelove, sometimes the best moments happen by chance. Full Metal Jacket, 1987. Full Metal Jacket, directed by Stanley Kubrick, is a gripping look at the Vietnam War, following a group of young recruits as they transform from civilians into soldiers. The first half of the movie focuses on their brutal training under the fearsome Gunnery Sergeant Hartman, a character so intense and unforgettable that he steals every scene he's in. Hartman was played by R. Lee Ermey, a real-life former Marine drill instructor. Originally hired as a consultant, Ermey proved he was perfect for the role by showing Kubrick just how tough and commanding he could be. During an audition tape, he yelled at extras and threw rapid-fire insults their way, convincing Kubrick to cast him. Ermey didn't just act the part, he shaped it. Nearly half of his dialogue was improvised, including the sharp, biting insults that have become legendary. Kubrick trusted Ermey to create lines that captured the harsh reality of military life, and his unique style brought authenticity and humor to the role. But filming wasn't easy. Ermey once injured himself in a car accident but insisted on continuing to work, proving his dedication to the role. His performance was so powerful that it earned him critical acclaim and made Gunnery Sergeant Hartman one of the most iconic characters in war film history. Star Wars, Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, 1980. The Empire Strikes Back is considered one of the best movies in the Star Wars franchise, and for good reason. It expands the galaxy with new characters, thrilling battles, and emotional moments that resonate with fans even decades later. Directed by Irvin Kershner, this second installment continues the adventures of Leia, Luke Skywalker, and Han Solo as they face off against the Empire's relentless pursuit. A truly iconic moment in the film happens just before Han Solo is frozen in carbonite. As Leia confesses, "I love you," Han responds not with the expected, "I love you too," but with the simple, confident, "I know." This line perfectly captures Han's charm and personality, turning a heartfelt exchange into one of the most memorable scenes in film history. But the story behind the line is just as interesting. The original script had Han replying with, "I love you too," but during filming, it didn't feel quite right. Harrison Ford and director Irvin Kershner worked together to find something better. Ford suggested, "I know," which fit Han's character perfectly, cocky yet sincere. The improvised line elevated the scene, giving it more emotional weight and cementing Han and Leia's relationship as one of the most beloved in cinematic history. It's a moment that fans continue to quote and cherish and is one of many reasons why The Empire Strikes Back remains a fan favorite. National Lampoon's Animal House, 1978. National Lampoon's Animal House is one of the most iconic comedy films of all time. Directed by John Landis, the movie follows the wild antics of the Delta Tau Chi fraternity at Faber College. Packed with chaos, laughter, and unforgettable characters, it set the standard for college comedies and turned John Belushi into a comedy legend. There are many famous scenes in the movie, but the most famous one takes place in the cafeteria. Belushi's character Bluto is piling an absurd amount of food onto his tray, but what makes this scene special is that none of it was scripted. Director John Landis saw potential in Belushi's improvisational skills and gave him free rein to see what would happen. As the camera followed Belushi around, he began playing with his food and acting out. The cast and crew had no idea what he was going to do, so their reactions were completely real. The moment when he stuffs his mouth with food, smashes his cheeks, and declares, "I'm a zit, get it?" was pure improvisation. Belushi's talent for physical comedy and his larger-than-life personality made this scene unforgettable. It's classic Belushi, spontaneous, hilarious, and a little gross. The cafeteria scene became one of the movie's standout moments. Even decades later, Animal House continues to make audiences laugh, and Belushi's improvised antics remain one of the highlights of this beloved comedy classic. The Shining, 1980. The Shining is one of the greatest horror films ever made, directed by the legendary Stanley Kubrick and based on Stephen King's novel. The story follows Jack Torrance, played by Jack Nicholson, as he takes a job as the winter caretaker of an isolated hotel. Along with his wife and son, Jack plans to spend a quiet few months, but the hotel's dark secrets and supernatural forces push him into madness. An unforgettable moment in the film occurs when Jack smashes through a bathroom door with an axe and declares, "Here's Johnny." Surprisingly, that line was completely improvised. Nicholson borrowed it from Johnny Carson's The Tonight Show, where the host's announcer, Ed McMahon, would use it to introduce Carson. Kubrick, known for his perfectionism and shooting dozens of takes for every scene, surprisingly loved the addition. The phrase added a creepy, almost playful tone to Jack's terrifying rampage, making the scene even more iconic. Now, the improvisation didn't just enhance the scene, tea became a cultural phenomenon. The line is now more associated with The Shining than with the original TV show. Nicholson's chilling performance and the sheer unpredictability of the moment made it unforgettable. Jaws, 1975. Jaws is the film that made audiences think twice before going to the beach. Directed by Steven Spielberg, this iconic movie tells the story of a massive great white shark terrorizing a small beach town. To save the day, Chief Brody, played by Roy Scheider, teams up with a marine biologist and an old fisherman to hunt down the beast. With its suspenseful storytelling and unforgettable music, Jaws became the first summer blockbuster and remains a must-watch even today. A standout moment in the film happens when Chief Brody gets his first full look at the shark. Taken aback by its massive size, he steps back and delivers the now iconic line, "You're gonna need a bigger boat." Interestingly, this line wasn't in the script. It was completely improvised by Scheider. The phrase was actually an inside joke on set. The film crew frequently used it when things went wrong, inspired by the fact that their support boat was too small to handle all the equipment. Scheider brought that humor into his performance, and it became one of the most memorable quotes in cinema history. The timing of the line is what makes it unforgettable. The tension is high, the shark is terrifying, and Brody's deadpan delivery cuts through the fear with a bit of humor. Improvisation can turn great movies into unforgettable masterpieces, as these vintage Hollywood scenes have shown us. Which of these improvised scenes surprised you the most? Or do you have a favorite we missed? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible stories from Hollywood's fascinating history. See you next time!